Hello and welcome everyone to the DH Effect and our very first episode of 2022. This month, we are going to explore the idea of vision and how that impacts our decided heart, and who to better kick off the year and the month than the speaker for the dreamer, Shaun Derik. We are so excited. Welcome, Shaun.
So much for having me. I'm super excited. Happy 2022, both of you.
Me too.
I feel like I'm getting a dose of, I didn't have my coffee this morning because I'm not with Sonia and she's the only one who makes me coffee. And so I feel like I'm getting my dose of caffeine here. For those of you who don't know, I was blessed enough to meet Shaun in person, in real life this year in Alabama. And that story may come out later, but needless to say, he absolutely lit up my world in the best possible way, and everyone else and the whole audience. He is a fantastic keynote speaker among so many other things. But what I love and would dearly think it would be so fun would how you got started. Tell us how you got started, because it was kind of a little bit by accident.
Definitely by accident. I'm trying to get which story to give. My goodness. Okay, so I was in finance before, by the way, and I would fall asleep a lot in our quarterly reviews. Sorry, Dave Noriega, if you're watching. And my boss would, dude, you can't do that. Well, I was outperforming a lot of people, and I was just like this arrogant 22-year-old kid. And I'm like, the meetings aren't fun. You think you do better? I think. Well, I didn't do better. It was awful, but I got the bug. And I wanted to know how to engage people more, right? So that's sort of how that started. Well, I really got my opportunity when my buddy, who I told I was a speaker to, says, "Oh, perfect, because I'm double booked." What do you mean when you said double booked? It's yeah, can you get down to Martinsville, Virginia? Okay. He didn't know I have to take vacation time because I was at a bank. He was like, yeah, cool. So could you get down there? I was, yeah, of course. Took vacation time. I get on this plane. And I said, well, how many audience? He's going to be there for 5 days because you got to speak 4 days, 4 schools a day. I had never done one full speech in my life. I was like, okay, cool. So I got to write 16 speeches, huh? He goes, no, 1. Really? Got it. First 3 speeches were awful, awful. By the time I got to the second day, and I'd been heckled like you couldn't believe, I had a rhythm. And that was on the second day, I asked if they had a piano. I said, do you have a piano? I said, yeah, we got a piano. Could you wheel it out there for me? And while the students were walking in, I was sitting down playing, and everyone was quiet. And I was like, oh my God, what? All I have to do is have a piano out here. And that was like my security blanket for like my first year. It became a niche of mine, and I started to teach with music. That's how I got started.
You know, can I just pinpoint that a little bit? I mean, I'm imagining you like kind of falling asleep during, quarterly reviews, and then knowing that you wanted something more, like I want to impact people more. And then this, crazy opportunity came to you. All right, I'm sorry, 5 days, 4 schools, like 1 speech, which to me is even more stressful than like, oh, I'll just feel it out and then I'll adjust the speech for the next. You could have easily bailed, like, oh, I'm going to scaffold this.
Let's be completely clear. If somebody could have pulled a fire alarm, which I prayed for, I was like, oh, can a fight break out in the middle of it? I didn't want to do it, every day I didn't want to do it. And I'm like, what am I doing? By the end of that week, I knew I was on to something, right? To lean into your fears, and it just felt good. There was something amazing on the other side of that thing. And don't think because I've been doing this a long time that I don't get nervous every time. I mean, Hillary will tell you, when we were actually at 2 events together, before I would go on, I'd be back there and I'm like, oh God, here we go again. And I'm drenched before I even go there, and I get off, I go, okay, I conquered something. I mean, what many people don't know about me is when I was younger, I would stutter my words. Becoming a speaker doesn't make sense in any capacity if you know where I'm from. So that every time I go on stage, I'm accomplishing something huge. Even now, it's a miracle. Every time I get off stage, I'm like, can't believe I did that.
Oh.
Had something to say.
Mhm.
But what's so powerful about that, I think, and I have this personal feeling about that as well, is every single person. I mean, we had 2,000 kids that we were speaking to, and it was every single time you showed up in that space of vulnerability and courage and light and just fun, in pure fun, you left every single person there feeling like they could do better and they could conquer their fears and they could show up in courage. And, I tell this story, and I've told it to more than one person, and I don't even know if you knew that you had this much of an impact on me that day. But our first gig, I got done and you said, how was it? I think you sensed I was like bummed. How was it? And I'm like, fine. And I'm from Minnesota originally. So fine means like, that sucks. It's all fine. That's what that actually means. Everything's always fine. And Shaun's like, well, so what could you do better? And what's your superpower? And I was like, I got emotional for whatever reason, and I could not talk about it. But you kind of like very kindly just sort of nudged me the next day. And then all of a sudden I wrote back to you and I said, it's love, Shaun. It's love. I was showing up for somebody other than my audience. I was trying to impress the people there to hire me again or something else. And I didn't show up with my superpower. You're like, that's it, sis, lean in. And so I did. And I did a little bit of fixing on my presentation. And I tell you what, there's a picture of me last year on a stage where I just felt like I was nailing it. And it was because of those very like, lean in, sis. And I love that. How do you make every single person feel that way in your audience? Because you do.
I just want everyone to know they deserve to be there. Like they didn't pick Hillary on accident, right? And she wasn't last picked either. And so when you realize that you deserve to be there, it just changes everything. And then the same with audience members, is that, Hillary will tell you, like I go in the back because I know the people in the back, they're not sitting in the front for whatever reason. It could be seating chart. It could be they don't want to, but I need to include them too. So I want them to know, hey, you deserve to be here, right? And the jokes and the music is cool, but I'm like, when I get to the serious stuff, I'm like, well, maybe he's not talking about me, but like I am. I want you to know that I have studied, or I have struggled with self-worth all of my life and imposter syndrome all of my life, and continue to work that out with great friends, great mentors, therapy, to center myself to believe, I deserve this. I really deserve to be here. And that is what, so if someone hires me, instead of saying like, man, I hope I do a good job, because I know that I'm nervous and I'm an artist by heart. So I'm like, I hope they like the art. It's, wait a minute. I'm worthy. I got to go out here and make it about who it's about, right? Which is not the person that's paying me, strangely, right? So outside them saying, hey, don't say this word on stage, I'm like, okay, no, I won't. So you've seen my content. I won't say that word. But outside of that, I have no rules in that. Right. It's like whatever the audience is vibing with. If you tell me to go an hour, sorry, future clients, if you're watching, you tell me to go to an hour and the audience is done at 40, we're done. Yeah. You tell me to go 20 minutes and the hour and the audience wants to keep going, we're going over. It's not about the program. It's not about, it's more about like that. And that is what, strangely, bending the rules that way is what kept me in business for 15 years. Is doing it that way. And then when I think, I'm like, hey, I'm sorry if I'm going, could you come back? I'm like, oh, I will definitely come back. So that's what I was wanting to convey to you, Hillary, is when you come on stage, the audience is looking to see if they can trust you, right? And so, and that comes from a completely different part of the brain, right? So it happens so quickly. It's our reptilian brain. Can I trust this person, right? Okay, cool. So when you come out nervous for any reason, or if you're like, I'm going to impress them, they go, something about this girl I don't like. I don't know what it is, but I don't like it and I don't trust it, right? There's a difference when you come in and you're like, I'm here for the right reason. They're just like, say more. You can say anything. People are like, I got to be a great speaker. I mean, kinda. I wouldn't start with a great speech. I would start with being genuine, if you're asking.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I totally understand that experience, and forgiveness and admitting that owning the mistakes at your shoulder, at your sleeve, they call it. I feel the energy change when I'm in front of people, when I can present truly who I am. And even sometimes like, whew, this is hard, guys. What do you think? There is the breaking of that mold, of that connection. But I'm really curious for you, being the artist, starting with writing the speech, the formal speech, and then becoming a storyteller. Is that something you've always known about yourself, that you are a storyteller, or did that evolve for you as you were kind of moving?
I have always been a storyteller,
Okay.
for better or worse. My mom would tell you, if she were alive, she'd say, you would go around and you'd tell people that you had a wife and 3 kids, and that you were from France. Now, I don't know why France, but
Love it.
and I had an answer for everything. I said, well, how old was? You're 4. I'm like, 4. I was obsessed with stories, but more so, I was obsessed with the audience reaction. And when you're 4 and they're like, really? I didn't know they didn't. I didn't know they did. I thought they believed me. And she's like, yeah, you'd have like 4 or 5 people around you, right? And I'm like, I love it. And I've got so many videos of me telling stories. And I came off this voyage like, what are you talking about? And there's a book that I'm reading right now, by Will Smith. It's a memoir. It's really, really good.
Is it good?
Turns out he was a storyteller as well.
Mm.
And he would do this thing where he'd see if he can tell the most elaborate story to his mom to see how much she would believe. And so there's something in the DNA about the going somewhere in the mind. I didn't need a lot of friends. I could play by myself. I had a crazy active imagination. First of all, thank you so much for the introduction. That was beautiful, Sonia. And since we're talking about storytelling, when I got into speaking, a lot of speakers were talking about the importance of college and graduating college and finding a job in your major. And I didn't hear a lot of speakers talking about dreams anymore.
Mm.
And I was like, well, I'll be the speaker for the dreamer then, because I didn't see those anymore. And like, that'll be my thing. I'll be the speaker for the dreamer. And it's not going to make any sense what I'm saying. Some of these institutions aren't going to like it, but I'm living proof that the way that my life turned out, a son of a window washer and a babysitter, my mom and dad, that with self-worth, I wouldn't say anything's possible, anything is probable, right? It's even more so going to happen, right? One of my favorite quotes is, the most dangerous sentence in any language is because we've always done it this way. So I don't start my January off with these resolutions or how I did it before. I don't start my January off with plans, which is against most experts. I don't do that because so many things have happened in my life that I didn't plan. I call them unexpected blessings. In fact, I keep a journal called Unexpected Blessings. And so when something happens, I'll write that down, right? It tells me that things are always working in my favor, 1. And 2, that don't be so high and mighty because you didn't plan that. So you can do a lot with that. 1, take the pressure off. Stop trying to be perfect. It's not going to be perfect. If you could make the perfect plan, everyone would have done it. That's not how things work, and that's not how life works. So anyway, getting back to the storytelling thing. Sorry about that on the tangent. I'm fascinated with watching and taking apart stories, and they all have these elements. I always have this like challenge, right? A shift and a lesson every time you tell a good story. So whether you're doing a toast at a dinner, right? Whether you are saying goodbye to a friend and you want it to be meaningful, whether you're writing something on a card, if you have those 3 elements, you'll make someone feel everything they need to feel. And you can make that 30 seconds, you can make that an hour. And that is how you write. Those are the things that I'm really obsessed with in storytelling, those 3 elements.
And there's something so powerful about it as well. And I think part of it is that vulnerability and that leaning in, and you're taking people with you, and it's a vision, right? You're painting a picture. It's interesting you call yourself an artist. And I think about that. And I think you're a speaking artist, you're a musical artist, you dance even, you do jokes as well. You probably paint, I'm sure, you do all of these things that all come together, and every single part of it feeds the senses for this vision looking forward. And we may not always know where we're going to go, but how important is it for you to sort of visualize, the story in front of you?
I think I know it's hard to talk about vision without plan because that's what we get into. But I feel like everyone, especially in a polychronic capitalist, Eurocentric country like America, we're very like, let's make a plan, and let's do the thing. But then when those plans don't work out. And so for vision, I say, okay, how can I just walk in that direction, for example, right? How can I walk in that, like the direction of where I'm going? And so, well, I would write these plans. Dallas Travers, she was an actor, then acting coach, and she's got this whole company. She's pretty brilliant. She said, most people are beginning to start to prepare to get ready to do things. We love that. We love planning. Man, you should see how many people have bought Sharpie markers and what do you call those big post-it things and calendars, and none of that's getting used. I just laugh. The gym memberships go up every day. I just, and it's not ridiculous. I'm not coming after anyone. What I'm saying is that more action, less thinking would be great, which is so different from everything else. They're like, think more before you act. In most cases, yes, but there's something about trusting your intuition, since we're talking about it, and saying, oh, this doesn't feel right. Just don't do that. Right? The lean business startup model will tell you, get to your first failure fast. Is to make the smallest plan you can imagine. This could be your whole month plan on a note card. You don't need anything more than this. Why? Well, you don't know if it's going to work anyway. So get to your first failure fast, make an adjustment, and then get to your next failure. And that's how you actually build a business. Not a business plan, not a notebook full of things. That's not quite how it works. And so I don't tell people to follow their dreams anymore. I used to do that. I don't do that. I say, okay, what do we have in common? Which is why I asked you what your superpower was. So instead of saying follow your dream, I might say follow your theme. A lot easier to accomplish. Because even if I'm doing something on stage, yeah, I might not be on TV yet, but am I still doing storytelling? Yes. If I'm writing the grand narrative of a company, a large organization, so they can have a master sentence that when you read that sentence, you know what it's all about. Is that storytelling? Yeah. If I'm doing a silly skit online where I dress up as Jesus, well, I would say if I do that, is that storytelling? Well, then yes. Well, then I'm not following my dreams. I'm following my theme. And that way you can feel a lot more fulfilled. I think that when we get to whatever we feel our dreams are, right? And wow, I envisioned this years ago and I have this. Okay, question. Yeah. You reached your dream. Yeah. Can I ask you a real question? There's no cameras on. No one's recording. Yeah. Are you happy? Take a moment, think about it. I've got friends who do very well, and I can name a few because they're just doing well. And one was just in Forbes twice last year. Now, if I talk to you, are you happy? What do you think she's going to say? I'll tell you. No. Okay. If I know that I'm always in my theme, then I can remain happy. I can remain joyous. If not, it's on to the next thing. Okay, where does it stop then?
Right.
There's Joan Rivers has this amazing documentary called A Piece of Work, and I watched it at a film festival. And it was a cringe moment because I realized it was me. I was a worker bee. And she said, oh, I can't open my calendar. If I got to put my sunglasses on because it's too much white, I know I'm not doing enough. And I was like, oh my God, that's me. Oh my God, that's me. Yeah. So I'm like, where is it less of just like process and more just like purpose? You dig? Like, when can I get more into that? And I find that in being thematically sound as opposed to just checking off the things on our to-do list in life. You know what I'm saying?
That being an educator, that is just one of the biggest ills of our society, is this chase for achievement and busyness, and I'll be happy when. And it's always, I'll be happy when I get to that next thing. I feel like this is such a great, I'm going to quote you if you don't mind. But way back, I mean, and to shift in that mindset, it is really not the doing, but the being. And in 2010, you did this video, Dreams and Detours. And
my gosh.
I know, but here, this is so powerful, and it's really aligned with living with a decided heart. You were saying, like you kept telling yourself, like, this dream's too big. I don't deserve this. It's not for me. It's too way out there, right? And then you said, every time you decide, every time you twist, every time you fail, life begins again. At every turn, life starts over.
Right.
And it's not that you build this path and it's linear and then you'll be happy when you get to that path, but every twist, it's like a discovery. Ooh, life started again. And I love the beauty of how you painted that picture, because it releases us of all those expectations of what a vision or a dream should look like, or be how it should be experienced.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Wow, that you just got get chills just because I encourage a lot of people to go back and listen to themselves. We make diaries, whether we write in them, right, physically, or we put them online. Go back and listen to your voice, because a lot of times when you're coming up with these things, it's not you. You're channeling something, right? So go back and listen to them. You're not, you're worthy, but sometimes you're not as smart to come up with a lot of these things. I feel like we're being channeled, like something we're like these conduits, and in that moment, I remember that it's like I was underpaid. It was underappreciated, underpaid, just so I could be understood. Right. And I remember that, go to college, get a job, dude. You got to do that. Right. And then it was, okay, dude, go to seminary, get a church. Cause I'm from Columbus, Ohio, Pentecostal church, born and raised. And so I would always sort of shrink down. You're being too much, man. You're being too loud. Right. All of that is, how do I do the under so I could be understood? You see what I'm saying? At the end of that video, the clip that you're saying, it's, just keep following the right signs and you'll get there. That's the theme, dude. Like, there was a point when I wanted to be famous. Any famous person would be like, don't do that, whatever you're gonna do. Jim Carrey says, I wish everyone can get riches and fame so they can realize that it's not gonna make you happy, right? When you all get done with this podcast, I'm gonna send this, if you haven't watched it already, his beautiful speech. He does a speech. He's speaking at a university. I can't remember the university. I'm sorry, Jim. It breaks my heart every time, puts it back together every time I hear this speech, because he says that so many of us, right, choose our paths out of fear disguised as practicality.
Wow.
What we really want, right, seems so large that we don't dare to ask the universe for it. He said, I'm living proof. Do that. Ask the universe for it. And I get chills every time.
Wow. Thank you.
So I think it's, yet again, if you're watching this, is 2022. We're going to be talking about vision. I have my either participants or the people at my speaking company where I teach narrative at a corporate level. And I say, close your eyes and I want you to imagine a hot air balloon. We might as well do it now, if you guys don't mind. All right. So Sonia, I'm going to ask, where do you see that balloon?
It's floating over mountaintops.
Okay, all right. Hillary, talk to me. Where do you see that balloon?
Well, it's so funny because now that she spoke, I'm like, oh, well, I'm with her.
Okay, cool. Can you all throw some colors in there? What does this balloon look like?
It's brilliant colors. It's multiple oranges and reds, definitely bright and bold.
Okay. If there were more people on this call and I asked the same question, almost no one, if not everyone, would say the same thing, but no one says that this balloon is inside. Open your eyes for a second. The reason why is because to even think about the concept of a hot air balloon, it's got to have no ceiling. When we ask ourselves the things that we want, the first thing we do is we put the ceiling on it. And so if I can ask my client, if I'm doing life coaching one-on-one, or if I'm doing, group coaching with a company, and I'll look at their goals and I'm like, okay, great. And I'm like, fear, 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 fear. Do you mind if I take your pen? I'll just put a ceiling on it because that's what it is. But I ask you to dream as large as you can without ceiling, right? And so that you can see the balloon going up, 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 right? In the atmosphere, right? Literally into space if you could, and had no ceiling, how far could it go? So with that, as opposed to making these goals, if I said snap, I play this game sometimes, snap your fingers, where would you like? Now people, this is a scary game to play, so we'll play it if you want to. Do you want to play it?
Of course.
Yes.
Always.
You can say no, I'm not,
Yes.
you're not gonna offend me.
Shaun, I trust you.
All right. We'll only do it with two things because I don't know who's listening. I don't want to offend anyone. You can live anywhere in the world. Snap your fingers. Where would you live? Sonia, go.
And Fiji.
Bam. Hillary.
New Zealand.
That was beautiful. Now watch this. You can do anything. I'm talking about anything. What'd you do? Sonia, go.
Anything. Speak.
Okay. Hillary.
Yeah, I want to do a TED Talk.
Okay. So you're doing a TED Talk this year, Hillary. Okay, cool. That's decided. And everyone, there's a lot of, let's say it gets ugly because I don't play around, whatever you want, right? I'm probably going to be sorry that I mentioned this because this is something that's in my course and it really helps a lot of people. That's the only reason I'm going to mention it right now. All right. Closest distance between 2 points is a what?
Line, straight line.
Yeah, straight line. Well, I call it the truth. And the point is my heart and yours. And whatever you're deciding to do, you don't have to go all these different steps. It's just, how can I step in the direction of my theme, right? And how, right? Not rack my brain, but how am I going to feel when I get to Fiji? How am I going to feel when I get to New Zealand, right? Now, with that, if you're having that as your vibration, don't you go to work a little differently? When I worked at Citizens Bank, did very well when I first moved to New York City from Columbus, Ohio. So well that I moved up in positions in almost no time, and I was in New York Times, right? Now, this isn't to impress you, it's impress you upon this point. I knew I wasn't going to end up at a bank. I took the job to move to New York. I was so happy in being in New York. I'm telling you, I could have done anything. I took 2 trains, 2 buses to get there every day, and then 2 buses and 1 train to get back. I had to take 2 trains because 1 train you had to drop, like it skipped a stop in the beginning, so you had to took forever to get in the morning. I didn't care. I knew I was coming to New York for something great. I worked every day. Every other person came in, they were so disgruntled, and I'm like, oh, I know what that is. I know where attitude comes from. I get that. You feel like you don't have options. You dig what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We were on vacation in La Paz, and my partner's sister, who's a very big influencer, she did like 7 commercials last year during the pandemic. She's a beast roller skater. She's badass. She gets a sizable amount per post. She blew up during the pandemic, and near to the end of our vacation, she was getting a little kind of like this. I was like, hey, dude, it's been like 3 weeks. I get it. I'm ready to get back to it. This is a lot. She was like, how much do you think flights are? I said, what? She said, how much do you think flights are? I said, I wouldn't know. You're trying to go back to LA? Yeah, just look them up. First thing she goes, 8,000. 8,000? I said, okay, well, that's 8,000 pesos. Oh, yeah, so it's around $400, but it's okay. I said, but also, if it was $8,000, you could leave. If it was $8,000, couldn't you leave? Yeah. Okay. Now, how do you feel? Good. I said, cool. Now you're supposed to stay with us 4 more days, but you can leave today. You saw that flight? Yeah. How do you feel? Good. Cool. Enjoy the rest of your vacation or leave.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
I don't do well with complaining. And they say, well, then Shaun, what if you can't do anything about it? This was the run I had. My friend Robert, he's an ex-Marine. He's just relocated to where I'm happen to be at the moment, which is Mexico. We're running in the morning, and his father passed. And he said, hey, man, I know you lost your parents. I said, yeah. He said, because I'm dealing with this now, how do you feel? And I said, oh, that's a great question. I said, there's a calming feeling when I know I can't do anything. It's stoicism, isn't it? It's being a stoic. I can't do anything anyway. And like, okay, there's a freedom in that. I can't do anything, right? And then there's calming when I know I got options. There's just no reason to be upset unless you want to. You could totally do that. But that has really helped me in deciding what I want to do, right? You're going to get there. There's really no rush. It's how you get there does matter. Just like it's not how you win or lose, how you play the game. How you get there matters. For example, I want to be famous. You can put out a sex tape.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
A public figure. Hey, he used to come to my school. It's weird. See what I'm saying? I want to be famous, right? Or how about this? I want to be important. You can take out the right person and you can be important.
Yeah.
So how you get there, right? So instead of saying, how am I going to get to New Zealand, Sonia? I would focus on how am I going to feel when I get there?
Mm-hmm.
You dig what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Now, the cool thing about that is people want to be around people who are confident and feel good all the time. So that's inching you closer to your dream anyway. You dig? And then you're happy on the ride up, right? When we get there, whatever there is for any of you all watching, I would ask, how was the journey, dude? I've got a lot of friends who, well, not even a lot of friends. I'd say I had 2 people in particular I know who on the way up, they smashed a lot of people. I'm like, ugh. Not because they're going to have a hard time going down, but who do you hang out with now?
For sure.
Yeah, so when I see Hillary and we're talking, and I want to make sure Hillary gets this when I'm sitting next to her, because I've also been in spaces where like there's the speaker and he's been places, right? And I'm like, dude, I'm not trying to mansplain to this woman. I just want her to know I care. How do I do that without coming off? Oh, what you got to do, Hillary, is like, no, dude. You know what I'm saying? I just want you to have a good time while you're doing this important work. You dig? Then watch this. If I give all to the audience and I feel like shit, right? And they feel great, I still did it wrong. It's not helping someone at your expense. It isn't sacrificial. It's how do I marry my audience, right? So that we all get something here, right? So they don't get the best of you, right? They get the best out of you. And like, I don't know, there's just something about that. I'm working on being really proud of myself in the ways that we wanted our parents to be. Now, in those ways, right? Like, well, Mama wanted me to do this and I did that. Cool. Well, it's not her responsibility. It is yours. So how can we exercise that every day? Since we're talking about vision, I'm just saying, right? We kind of get there. And the older we get, we realize that the process it takes to get certain places, the younger you are, you're just like, do you remember when you're younger, how fast you used to take turns and just drive? Maybe you didn't do that. Yeah. Well, in New York City, I could hear the train coming. Now this is ridiculous now. The train comes every 6 minutes, everybody. Every 6 minutes. And I lived right by the train. I said, damn it. And I get on, okay. Now I was with my mentor, Lee Summers. He's original cast of Dreamgirls on Broadway. He's a very brilliant man. He's a writer. He's the reason I was in New York so long. And I'm walking with him. And he goes, girl, what you think you're doing? I said, we're running. He said, honey, I'm not going nowhere. I said, well, Lee, we're going to miss the train. He said, I'll catch you on the next one. And then I was so upset. I get down there. I'm visibly upset, right? I'm like, this guy's just old, man. And he gets down. He's coming down the steps. So you decide to stay? Yeah, okay. Can I tell you why I don't run anymore? What? When you speed up is when you make all the mistakes. He says, use your imagination with that. And I think all the injuries, all the things, like that's what happens when we speed up. It's like, dude, you're gonna get there. You're gonna get there, right? There's no reason to rush anything, which is not going to be confused with the shorter plan versus the long plan. I say get started, but you don't have to rush. I promise you will get there.
Oh my God, love it.
Yeah, I know there's so many nuggets in there and so much value. And I think one of the biggest things that really comes from this, and as we're kind of closing out for the day, I just want to sit in space like all day long. I really do. It's such a treat. But I really feel like that theme, going back to that idea of theme, knowing who you want to be and how you want to show up and how you want to feel and how you want to leave others feeling.
Yeah.
That is the important part. That's the good stuff. And when you live that, you know what to say yes to, you know what to say no to.
Yeah.
It's born out of desperation. You're not running for the train because you trust the process. You trust that there's going to be the next train coming that's meant for you, and it's the right one to get on. And that is a beautiful way to start our 2022. So Shaun, I want to thank you so much for pouring into us and our listeners. And it's just there is just no denying the light that you bring into this world. So thank you so much.
Oh, we ain't going nowhere. No, we should. I was playing. I do want to say yet again, thank you for trusting me with your audience. It's very important. Hillary, you're a beast of a speaker. I cannot wait to see you do your TED Talk this year, right? And more speaking from you. By the way, Sonia, you have a very calming spirit. In fact, the energy changes every time you talk. Right? I'm talking about from my heart rate to my breathing when you talk, very soft voice. So I cannot wait to see what you do with that gift, that superpower that you have. This is really dope that you have that, right? And to the rest of the listeners, thank you for being a part of this. I'm not trying to go to the show.
No, please.
Close this up.
Reframe something that people say, what would you do if you knew you couldn't fail? I'm like, I used to be able to answer that question. Now I go, what? No, what would you do if failing didn't matter? Right? When I watch my niece and nephew play, they fall all the time. Someone bumps it and they go right back outside because playing is paramount to being a kid, right? So in this, you snapped your finger, the audience to do this at home, right? Yo, what do you know that your time, right? And your skills and your experience and your worth and your degree and your certificates and your whatever, what do you feel? And you know this when you snap, right? To be best utilized, right? That would grant the love and value of all parties involved, right? I know that's me being a performer. I do not have to guess about that. So you will not find me do anything else but giving story every chance I get. And in that way, I've already made it. I've already made it.
Wow. What an amazing, I want to just leave with that as a ... just settle with that. And actually though, before we even close the show, how can our listeners find you, follow you, laugh with you, have powerful messages with you? Where do they go?
Sure. You can follow me on 2 platforms in particular. IG, Instagram is at Shaun Derik, ShaunDerik, or TikTok, ShaunDerik. I've got a big announcement coming February, so stay tuned. And then if you'd like to work with me or work like me, or even work for me, ShaunDerik.com. And keep supporting this podcast. You all are doing really important work, and I will keep supporting as well. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Shaun. Well, thank you to our listeners. Thank you, Shaun. Oh my gosh, what a way to start 2022. Thanks for joining our first episode of 2022. Be sure to follow us, the DH Effect, on all of our social media platforms, and pick your favorite podcast platform, whether it's Spotify, Apple, Google, whatever, and YouTube, so you don't miss any episodes coming up our way. Also, we wanted to announce that we just launched our Friends with Benefits membership program. Yes, we know how it sounds, but we state facts, all right? Because we are friends and we do enjoy the benefits of togetherness and belonging in every sense. So it's awesome. And you can get more information on our website at thedheffect.com. Until then, savor storytelling, savor this message that Shaun brings to us, and may you have the courage to live with a decided heart. Thank you, everybody.